Yes. So thank you so much, Francine. It is such a great
Thank you for
pleasure to
having
have
me.
you join
Thank you
us.
for having me as a guest. Thank you.
Yes, as our special guest. And I mean, we couldn't expect better person to talk about intuition. Intuition is a channel through which we can communicate directly to God.
That's
And
right.
we are really eager to learn from you. So take it away, my dear friend. Thank you.
Oh, you could talk some more. Oh, you're so funny. So, so basically, if you look up the word intuition, intuition and psychic mean the same, but people have this idea that psychic means that we know all and see all. But intuition just really means into the soul because we all have souls. And intuition is natural to everyone. You know, it's like when you're walking down a dark road and the hair stands up on your arms, it's your body's way of warning you that there could be danger to stay alert. So that is basically one form of intuition, you know. And again, intuition is into the soul. And it's there's no such thing as magic, spells, curses, evil eye, any of that. Because again, you know, if that was the case, I would be a billionaire, you would be a billionaire, I'd be 100 pounds, and there would be a lot of people that would be pissed off at me. So, but basically, intuition is getting information on different vibrations. So for me, I'm a psychic business strategist. I see images, I hear things, I feel things, and sometimes people that have passed over communicate, but it's on a different frequency. It's like static almost. So it's like a different vibration. And in order to be able to tap more into this, you have to be on a higher vibration because it's not an absolute, if that makes any sense. Understand, you know, you guys? Medard, do you have a question? Take off mute.
No, no, no. I'm following you. So
What
no
is
question.
what is your date of birth, by the way, just out of curiosity?
It's June.
What'd you say?
June 8th.
12/8. So you're extremely intuitive also, and you have a very funny sense of humor. And like, so what happens is, you know, when we have
You,
a slideshow and a
can you hear
daisy.
me?
Yes, I can
The
hear you.
network is quite bad, and so I said that my birthday was June 8th.
Oh, June 8th. Okay.
Yeah.
What year, if I may ask, another baby?
I'm sorry?
What year?
1990.
Oh my God, another baby. Okay. So, so the thing is, you are another person that needs freedom. You know, you need a lot of freedom, and you're also very innovative. That's why you're connected to Jerome, and you're always trying to make things better, if that makes any sense. What's interesting is I get like an old-fashioned abacus, like you know those things that go, you know, and the numbers. So I'm seeing that around you, and it's almost like you like to put things together. You're actually very intuitive, also, you know. So you just have to kind of listen to it a little bit more, if that makes any sense. Okay. Jerome, you have any input for this?
Yes. Uh, 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 my late mentor, Bob Proter, used to say that we it's difficult to teach somebody to learn how to develop his or her intuition. It is something that we develop by own, right? So
Every everyone has a psychic and intuitive ability, but we all get information on a different frequency or different things. So some people get dreams, some people like I get all of it. I see, I hear, I feel, but we all get different ways of messages, right? So you might get a dream or a deja vu, or You might be walking and then all of a sudden get like a tap on your arm saying, do this or don't do that. That's your intuition. And again, we all have it because we're animals, and animals are live in the wild based on instinct, if you think about it. And instinct and intuition, they're all interconnected, and basically they did studies that we only use 20% of our brain, right? And the people, oh, Techno, can you your you gotta mute. Yeah, mute Techno. Okay. So they did these studies that most people only use 20% of their brain, right? But people that are more creative, hello, people that are artistic, people that are more empathic, basically using more of their brain and more of their intuition. So it's a muscle, basically, in its frontal lobe, actually, also. So the frontal lobe is what affects inhibitions and memory and fear and things like that. So what I tell people is you have to learn how to listen to however you're receiving the information. It's sort of like when a 6-year-old daydreams in a dream in a slideshow. So it's almost like you have to put yourself in a more of a childlike state in a way. And then once you do that, you could learn to receive the information more. And it doesn't matter how silly it is. I go into the grocery store all the time and I'll walk over to people and I'll get an impression and I'll say to them, look, this is what I do. Can I tell you something, to try to help them? So that's basically the way it is. Jerome, where'd you go? Jerome. He
Yes,
disappeared.
here I am.
Oh, okay. I was like, where? So, because it's not my show, it's your show. And I want to thank you again for having me. The thing is that I don't want people to be scared. There's a lot of superstition out there where people think that a psychic knows all and sees all and it's spooky. It isn't. If you think of it like a child or an animal, like a puppy or a cat, like basically they don't know any limitations. So, I always say that you just have to close your eyes and learn how to listen. I automatic write also. So I do that all the time. So anything that pops into my head or I talk into my phone of something that pops into my head and I will keep a log of it and go back to it later. So any questions for anyone in here? Anybody? Hello. Come on, Jerome.
Yes, I want
Hi.
to ask.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, the basic question what stems from my mind when it's come to intuition is that how one can make sure that the message uh, that resonate with him is the right now from God.
Without God, you won't get those messages. It's a direct line. God gives us what we need and not always what we want.
Mhm.
And, the Bible talks about false prophets. Okay. So uh, there are people out there that take advantage and, I don't want to say make stuff up, but the thing is, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. It's all connected, and it's a divine vibration, basically. You know what I'm saying? Hello, Belmont. So,
Let
you
me
know, we
mute
can
you.
take questions if you'd like, but I want you to keep, ask me questions. So I can tell you some stories. I mean, I'm really known for being a pregnancy predictor, if that makes any sense. Oh, thank you. One second. And because I'm an artist originally by trade, and I've been practicing for, over 40 years. But whenever I see pickles over a woman's head, pickles and ice cream, because women, when they're pregnant, they get these weird cravings. I generally will think that they're either pregnant or they will be. You know what I'm saying? But that image doesn't always have to be exactly the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when I do readings with people or I meet people, because I'm a medical intuitive, I can see somebody's like something around their chest area, thinking that they have acid reflux and they could have asthma. It's not an exact science, but that's how I get images, and I see, I hear, I feel. Madar, you had a question. Go for it.
Yes, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my question is, in some situations, we have some first thoughts about a situation, and then after thinking about it, we may then decide to go along that first thought, or we choose to do a different way. So now, sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's not so good when we follow our first thought that I would qualify as the intuition. So,
Okay.
am I correct when I say that intuition is the first feeling or thought you have about a situation when you are facing it?
Intuition is partly, it's not always a first thought. It could be a feeling, it could be a dream, it could be a tap. But the thing about intuition is it's part of learning and practicing and paying attention is peeling back the layers. Think of broccoli, not broccoli, a Brussels sprout or a cabbage, right? Or even a rose petal, like you peel back the layers. So sometimes, like with the pickles thing, like when I see it over women's heads, I've seen pickles over men's heads, and I'm trying to figure out what it means. And generally speaking, if I see something like that, there's a reason I'm getting it. So basically, when you're starting to get these messages, maybe keep a journal and then say it to the person. Let's say it relates to a person or a situation, and say, listen, I don't know what this means, but I just got this impression. Does it mean something to you? And it may not have any impression on them at that moment, but maybe they come back to you in 2 weeks and say, oh, when you told me this, it was symbolism, or when you said this happened and it resided with me, if that makes any sense. You see what I mean? So, like, over 35 years ago, I dreamt my father was pregnant. It's my favorite story. And he was getting a C-section, and there were dancing pickles over his head. Now, we know that's not possible, right? And they were like cartoon pickles, because I'm funny. I'm like 6. And he wound up having a triple hernia, laparoscopic surgery. So he looked pregnant, if that makes any sense. So one image, you might have an image or a reaction to something, right? Or you might smell something and feel nauseous. And I may get the same idea, different impression. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Your interpretation and my interpretation could be completely different. You take what you need and you leave the rest, is basically. And the more that you practice and work that muscle, the more you'll be able to kind of create a dictionary or an encyclopedia of the impressions and the images and things like that. Does that make sense? Also, one other thing, I can give somebody a reading or tell somebody something. We all have free will. I'm an eagle that flies above a storm, because eagles are the only birds that can do that, right? So they're able to see all the different roads on how you get where you're going. So I could tell you I wouldn't do that, or the spirit is telling me maybe you should reconsider, and you could choose to do whatever you're going to do, because we're human and we have free will, right? And then it doesn't mean that what's happening for you isn't supposed to happen. Maybe it takes you longer to get where you're going. Make sense? Okay. You have any other
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah.
Because the thing with you is you're very analytical, if I'm correct. because I see the abacus. Like, I don't know if you're an engineer or a finance, like I get these technology, like I get like I have to use my hands. I get these orbs and these moving parts. You're battling the structured part of your life with the creative and the intuitive part. The intuitive part doesn't blend easily because you're very structured. I'm completely the opposite. And actually, I'm originally a fine artist, and then I took I got a packaging degree, go figure. So to be able to recalibrate my brain was very difficult. Do you see what I mean? Where you're very calibrated, you just have to kind of open yourself up more. That's all. And don't be scared. And keep a journal. And what you could do is even your friends or your family, if you get an impression or something, or you feel weird about something, say, look, this is what I got. I don't know if it means anything, and tell it to them. See what I mean?
Yeah.
See, my job isn't to create codependence. Even though I've been doing this for over 40 years, I teach people how to take the tools and pay attention to themselves and teach them to pay it forward. So, maybe I read somebody once a year or twice a year, and then maybe it only goes once a year because I'm teaching them also in my sessions how to pay attention more. Do you see what I'm going? Now you're also at a pivotal point with your life. You're an even number. So when I do what I do, I get numbers, and it's like an algorithm. So you're an even number, and you're juggling 2 things or 4 things at any given moment. You should maybe squish them together because that's why you're exhausted all the time. And again, it's like the yin and the yang is constantly battling each other because you're not trusting your first gut instinct. See what I mean? Do, do, do.
Yes,
Ah,
fantastic. Francine, I read in your bio that you are able to interpret dreams.
yes,
Okay.
yes. But one thing, I can interpret a dream. So this is really important. If you look at a dream,
Yes.
like you're in a movie theater to everyone that's in the room, and you're basically tied to the chair, and your eyes are taped open, and you cannot look away. I don't, when you have a dream, most people dream in black and white. So if you dream in color, it tends to be more precognitive, which means that you're getting an impression of something before it happens. That's very important. Only like maybe 25%, 30% of the population dream in color. Now, when you're having this dream, always pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes, not the main characters, because the main characters could be like a couple arguing, and then you might see a car drive behind or somebody walking. Whatever's going on behind the scenes is normally the pink elephant in the room. So dreams are precognitive, symbolic, surrealistic, and wishes and fears. And if you pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes, okay, that's the most important thing because that's giving you a little bit of a message of, okay, be careful of this, or this could happen, or this, or this, or this. So I've dreamt, about my friends and family of things to happen. And I was like, okay, what is this? And it all makes sense to me later. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not meant for you to get it at the moment. And also, we're stubborn. We want to see what we want to see, if that makes any sense. Go ahead, Jerome.
Yes, but actually my question was how did you get there, right?
How did I get that?
Yes. To become able to interpret dreams, this is such a great ability. And I would love to, to tap into this disability and interpret because we got a lot of dreams and sometimes we're truly confused. We don't know, I mean, what they mean and sometimes we feel so shy, right? I mean, and um we worry about it.
Okay,
Yes. So
but you
how
shouldn't be.
yes, is it a basic skill that's anyone accessible to anyone and anybody can develop it?
Eh, Dream
Or
interpretation isn't.
can you okay. I mean, I would love for you to come up with some tips to develop such an ability.
Well, there is a book that I recommend to people that you can get on Amazon. It's called The
Yes.
Dreamer's Dictionary.
Please, can you put
Uh,
in the chat?
yeah, sure. It's The
Yes.
Dreamer's Dictionary. Let me see something.
Dreams.
Type. Okay. Dreamer's Dictionary. It's not that expensive. Dreamers, it's hard for me with my contacts, but let's see. Dictionary. There's two authors, Lady Stern or Stern Robinson and Tom Corbet. I'm dyslexic, so give me 1 second.
Mhm.
Robinson, Tom Corbet. And basically, it talks about different. Um, oh, you know what? I put it in the. Hold on, let me just see something. Give me 1 second. Copy. Uh, Let me go back into the chat. How do I? Okay. Uh, to meeting chat. Okay, there we go. It's hard for me to see this because the font is so small. So, I tell people to start with that book, keep a journal, write stuff down. Like, so as soon as you wake up, whenever you have a dream, write it down or talk into your phone. Some people, when they wake up, don't remember their dreams, but then a
Yes.
few hours later, they have a deja vu.
Yes.
The deja vus are really their dreams that they're remembering later on, actually. And the thing about it is, hi, Flory. Flory's in the room. So most of the dreams are, like I said, symbolic, surrealistic, precognitive wishes and fears. So, like a lot of times when people dream that somebody's going to pass, it normally means the opposite. It normally means a birth, actually. So it comes up pretty strong with that. So the thing is that the more that you write these things down, and then you can look it up in the book, or you could send me a private message or something. But a lot of the times, our fears misinterpret those dreams, and we shouldn't be doing that. We should look at it from a different perspective. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I want to thank you again for having me, Jerome.
You're welcome.
Now, anyone else? Anyone else have any questions?
Yes, me.
Flory?
Yeah. I have a couple of questions. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so first of all, thank you. I would like to know how can intuition help one in his professional or personal growth? And also, if that's something that is possible, what are the sort of simple exercise, as you mentioned, that it's like a muscle that needs to be trained. So, what are simple, not too complex exercises that anyone can do anytime to really train intuition, our ability to be more intuitive regarding things, events, and decisions in
Hmm.
our professional and personal life?
Yes, because there are some
Okay.
critical times, right? That you should be, I mean, you have to take to reach the right decision. Yes, this is
Okay. Jerome can help with that because he's, a mindful coach. But the thing about it is that it is a muscle, and I think when people let go of fear, that's number one, and they let go of their self-doubt. But the other thing is whether you do meditation, take a walk on the beach, you need at least, let's say, 10, 15 minutes of the day for complete silence. Because you need to, as Flory was asking, to be able to connect to your higher self. And when you let go of those inhibitions and you strip that from yourself and not be fearful, it's almost like spiritually being naked, of sorts. So once you're naked in the spirit world, in a sense, you're open to other things. And fear has no place in this. And self-doubt has no place. And again, I've said things to people that made no sense because I see a lot of cartoon images, I see a lot of graphics, and I hear and I feel, and I have such a sensory overload that I don't always understand what it is, but I do deliver the message and I'll say, look, I don't know what this means, but this is what I'm getting. And generally speaking, it will make sense to the people later on if it's not at that moment, because again, it's always symbolic, surrealistic, precognitive wishes and fears. And even with intuition, dreams and intuition, they're truly connected. Understand what I'm saying? So with you, like I just told you who you were. Like I got the helix, I got these images and the orbs and the moving numbers and all those things. And it shows me how you think. You're very, very, very structured and you're black and white. So you have to kind of think more like, I don't want to say the rainbows, but sort of like my backdrop. You got to think in a different way a little bit and let in the other part of you. And once you do that, it'll happen more. It becomes like a level of consciousness that helps you connect more with your higher self, because you'll start to be able to know when you get an impression, is it your own thoughts, or is it guidance from spirit? Is it guidance from God? Is it or is it self-doubt and things like that? You'll be able to start to compartmentalize, especially when you practice. I mean, when I first started, I remember being in a gym and I'm on the treadmill and I turn to a guy and I say, are you born in July? And I don't normally guess ages or date of birth. And he said, yeah. And I said, I have another question. And he goes, what? I go, are you an accountant? And he freaked out and he jumped off the treadmill. So, it's just how you deliver the message, whether it makes sense or not. Like I said, you're at a really pivotal point right now in your career and your life. And the creative and the empath, because you're very sensitive, even though you're macho, but you're trying to branch out and you have to just trust more. Does that make sense? Yeah. I
Yeah,
can't hear you.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, you're very
Yeah,
intuitive. You're just
I
an
said absolutely.
analytical
Yeah,
intuitive. So you're an analytical
yeah,
intuitive. So you do which one of these things doesn't belong? I can't sing. So so the thing is, it doesn't make you less intuitive. You just beat a dead horse a little longer. So I'll say to somebody, pickle, you'll take the pickle and bring it to the lab and have them dissect it to make sure it's a pickle, but you already know it's a pickle, but you question it. Don't do that anymore. Because 99% of the time, your first gut vibe is going to be right. That's proven, you know? Now,
Okay,
more
okay.
questions?
somebody asked, can we really trust our intuition?
Can you what?
Can we really trust our intuition?
When we get away from fear and ego, yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
this is the
Because
pretty
ego,
precise.
ego is the downfall, because it's, if I get a message or I get an impression, I will relay it to what I think it may mean, but I say to the person, look, it may mean something else. And I don't take it personally if the person doesn't receive the information, because they have to be open to receive the information. And I always tell people, if they don't want to know, then don't ask.
Also,
Look, I came on your show. You reached out to me the other day on the fly, and I'm like, who is this person? And
yeah.
intuitively, the voice said to come on, because I knew that you were a teacher. I knew you are a guide. You're an advocate. I knew that you do also a lot of different things, and I knew that you are a healer. You're basically a spiritual healer in some ways, and that's why people come to you. And you're very gentle, and you and Medard would be really good at kind of combining your your stuff together, because you're more in tune to your intuition a little bit more, and you don't doubt as much, where you can kind of kick Medard.
Cool. And definitely meditation can help to, develop social ability. I can relate to that. Um, I'm involved in Napoleon Hill Institute programs. It's free, okay? They call it m- uh Miracle Money Club. Miracle Money Club. And we spend a lot of time dedicated to meditation. And during the meditation, s- some people receive message from God.
That's right. That's
Yes,
right.
and they are just guided. Uh, and they receive message from God to perform such a task, to take so to reach such a decision. And it's so clear. And step by step, I'm getting accustomed with such practice. And I'm convinced that in the long run, I'll be able to develop totally my intuition. So
But
I highly recommend meditation.
well, I'm ADD, right? And I'm dyslexic, so I've always had a hard time quieting my mind. So that's why I'll take, 10, 15 minutes at least once a day, just to sit in silence
Yes.
and close my eyes and do deep breathing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to listen to music or things like that. Some people also do tapping, EFT, which is a form of guided meditation and self-hypnosis. But just the 15 minutes or even 5 minutes a day of sitting in complete silence helps to quiet the mind, to open up those doorways to be able to receive the information. Make
Yes.
sense?
And for that to happen, there are some specific music. Yes, we have to listen to not just any kind of music, but there was a playlist there, and it's really inspiring when you listen to uh this music. Oh my gosh, you feel a certain connection with God.
You can even listen to the waterfall. It doesn't
Okay,
necessarily, it could
yeah,
be
yeah,
sand
yeah, yeah.
falls, it could be the waterfall, it could be the wind. It's certain frequencies. There is, um, again, white noise, pink noise, brown noise, which sounds like shh. So that's like how I hear spirits. That's another thing. And then there's, different kinds of meditation music. Again, that's a little bit more structured. So I'm the opposite of both of you. You guys are a little bit more structured. You're not as structured anymore, Jerome, but Medard is. So here with me, even if I take 5 minutes, it's good for me, and I listen to the water or something like that. But again, you have to figure out what helps to soothe your soul and quiets your mind. So that's and listen to the different frequencies, because like minds attract like minds, and if you're on a certain frequency, eventually you're going to attract the same kind of frequency.
Yes.
Hello, Flori. So
Yes. It's all about frequencies. All about
yes,
frequencies.
that's correct. That's why God is always talking to us. And I always say that if we don't listen, God makes us listen.
Yes. Uh, I read Neil Donald Walsh. You know about his bestseller, uh, Conversation with God. Oh my God, it is so good. God
Yep,
is talking to each of us every time, every time.
that's right. And you just have to be on that frequency and be able to kind of get that noise out, because everything is so noisy. You have to be able to pull back those layers to be able to listen for it. That's why it's important to have those quiet moments.
Absolutely. So, Flory asked, how can an individual connect to their higher self?
I did kind of answer it. The best way to connect to the higher self is to strip away the self doubt and the fears, and be comfortable within yourself and learn to listen and create that space of safety zone for yourself and for your own thoughts and the messages and whatever you're receiving. You have to have a quiet, safe space.
Awesome.
Well, Lori's very, very psychic herself and very intuitive. Um, she found me and we connected and we collaborate, and she does some things, and she winds up in places and situations that would, like how she wound up here. It's really pretty cool. And she has a background, hi Flory, where she's also very structured. She would get along with you guys, and she's learning to listen.
Sometimes it gets very loud.
That's right.
I was actually, when I joined before, Francine, look at this beautiful day. I had a wedding here at the house.
Oh my God.
So I was getting the bride out of here. She had the pre-wedding here. So sorry I came and went, but I'm back.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But she's a perfect example of somebody that came from a very structured corporate world, very thought restrictive. I'm not going to use another word, anal, but she has opened herself up to the channels, and she's listening to the different frequencies, you know and she's brilliant. And what's also interesting, her name is Flory and my mom's name was Florence, so we have a lot of connections, where we grew up. We grew up in the same place. It's very interesting. Lori, come back in for a second. Talk to them and tell them about your own intuitions.
Yes, we want to
Please.
hear from you.
Okay, I'm back. I'm back for a minute. So hi, everybody. Yeah, listen, my training has been, my formal education is mathematics, computer science, and finance. So my undergraduate's math, computer science, my MBA is finance, and I have 2 doctorates in analytics and deduction. So the first 40 years of my life were see it and believe it. And I could solve any equation and I could fix any problem. And then I turned 40 and I got beaten up a little bit. You know how life does that once in a while. And I had an extreme amount of loss in the same day. And because of that, I went on a mindful spiritual journey. And for the last 20 years, I've been studying spirituality and mindfulness and intuition. And now I have a company, my third company, that combines business and mindfulness, because I'm always saying, you can't make a move you don't have. So if you want to manifest and you have all the manifestation meditation skills, but you don't have the tools to make a move, you cannot take inspired action. So I'm really bringing spirituality to business people, and I'm bringing business concepts and how to run a business to spiritual people.
That's right. And she's very good at it.
Because I have
Yeah.
found that most mindful spiritual leaders are not skilled because they hasn't been their thing to run a business. Yet if you want to have maximum impact, you have to run a business. And then I find the business people are missing a piece, no pun intended, that's the name of my program. And that piece is mindfulness and quiet. So I feel like I'm the bridge between these two worlds.
Predict, plan, and prosper.
And I'm sitting on the lake. So look, I'm prospering.
See? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Flory, for coming in. And I'm
You
going to
know
see you.
what? It's so crazy. I was just on social media for a second, and there you were, and I was like, okay, I'll listen. I'll join.
Wow.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
I follow now. I don't question. I follow. I said I had a wedding here. The florist delivered, asked me what I did, and now she's coming to a seminar. When you come, Francine, on Sunday, the florist that I just met an hour ago is coming.
That is, see? Yeah, Flory's like me. She'll go to the grocery store and then she'll suddenly have people coming to one of her seminars. It's amazing. You
She
know,
really dropped off the flowers and said, "This is a beautiful home. What do you do?" And then we were off and running.
yeah, yeah. So I'm so glad you're here.
I'm
So
happy to be here.
tell us more. Anything else that's happened that's been it. The thing with Giovanna. Giovanna did a show with Jerome, but you see how I connected you and Giovanna. They have a lot in common.
And
Yes.
she's
Yes.
and Giovanna's coming on Sunday to my house.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
said to me, what part of my life now is serendipitous? I have to say to you, what part is not? Everything. Okay, I'm going to tell the Cuba story. Can I tell that quick?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was on my way to see my twins who were at the University of Miami. I'm sitting next to a gentleman the whole ride. Luckily, I have some emotional intelligence. I am extroverted, but I could tell he was introverted, didn't want to talk. I didn't say a word. Getting off the plane, I simply said, "Do you live in Miami?" He said, "I live half in New York and half in Cuba." He was on his way to Cuba. And he said to me, "I am looking to bring Cuban businessmen into mindfulness combined with entrepreneurial." I said, "Of course you are." I showed him my phone and my program. This was a year ago. We've been in contact, but he just got funding. I'm going to Cuba. By the way, Francine, I don't think I even gave you this update. I'm going to Cuba in January, and we are going to create an entrepreneurial program for Cuban entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. And that's, and by the way, you're an even number, so is Jerome and so is Medard. So it's going to keep on expanding and growing like we talked about.
Yeah, fabulous. And obviously because of Cuba's background, they have not encouraged entrepreneurship. So I come in with a good combination of skills because of the business and the mindfulness, because it's going to be a lot about mindset, right? So I'm going to be meeting, so it's going to be great. But that's a good example. A year ago, I met someone on the plane, and here we are.
And it also helps let people not be so repressed anymore. That's the other thing. You have to not be repressed, and I say it like unduct tape yourself,
Well, that's a good one. I like that one. Well, you know me with the words, so I got a lot of words.
Oh yes. Oh yes. But when I was teaching, this is a silly word because boys love this word, but I would tell people, think of it as like farting. You have to let it go and be able to be open for it. And boys love that word. They're cracking up now. So
Listen, you relate to people anyway. I do stand-up comedy on top of it, right? Because you're going to relate and use whatever tool you've got in your tool bag to relate to people.
absolutely. I'm
Yep.
so glad you joined. Now, Jerome, do you have any other questions for Flory?
No question, but I don't know if in the attendees have a question. Let me check.
And some of the people were talking about Catholic and Muslim. Spirituality and intuition has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with spirituality. So I'm not a religious person, but I'm spiritual. And whether it's God, the universe, whatever you pray to, whatever you believe in, first off, you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, none of that's going to work. It won't mean anything. You understand what I'm saying? So that's part of where the spirituality and intuition will come into play. And again, intuition means into the soul. We all have a soul, and you have to just go into yourself and tap into it. And it sounds very simple, but listen, you got to learn to listen. And Flory does it all the time, and I've been doing it. She, even though I've been a full-time practitioner, she kicked me in my butt. Woo, in a really good way. And she was so sweet about it. And she would look at me and go, "What?" And then she'd be like, "Okay." And then she re-geared me or re-steered me and helped to refine me a little bit more, we'll say.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what I always say, you have to meet people where they're at. So you cannot start talking about things that are going to put people in fear or make them feel awkward, because then you're not going to be able to relate to them. I mean, it's like any relationship. And that's why I love bridging spirituality with business. These are just business concepts also, but they are very much in sync with spirituality. I mean, goal setting, manifestation, intuition. Oh, Francine, I don't know if I told you this one, for this community. So most business people know ROI is what? What does ROI stand for?
Oh, I don't even know. I'm dyslexic, so you remember that.
No clue.
ROI in business stands for return on investment.
That's right. Okay.
Right. Right. So if I have, $100,000, what do I get a return on? Well, I have redefined ROI to mean return on intention.
Intention.
Yep.
Because the investment is under the intention. The whole thing, your life is really your ROI, your return on your intention.
Well, yep. If you put it out there, you give and you do, you're not going to always get it back from the same situation. You just have to keep doing what you're doing. And, I, working with Ivan, it's predict, plan, and prosper. So now we have another part to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, the intention is really the foundation, right? The intention is really what's attracting. People always say, I'm doing the right behaviors. I'm like, it's not the behavior, it's the intention behind the behavior, right?
It's also the follow through.
Oh, absolutely. But it doesn't even start until the intention behind the behavior is the manifesting type of truistic behavior and intention. Yeah.
And the word try, I think, should be taken out of the vocabulary, because when somebody says they're going to try to do something, they're not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm going to try to go to the gym. Do is the word.
The other word I want out of the vocabulary, someone just interviewed me. I did a podcast. They said, what word do you want out of the English language? And I said, should. Right? Because, I said, we don't know what anyone should do. So now my new thing is, right? You should on people.
I love it.
Because we have no idea what someone should do. So instead you replace it with could. This is what you could do. Because I can have empathy, but I cannot walk in your shoes.
Yes.
And I'm actually starting to teach a lot of parents now as well. I have 3 children, and I have parented my children with these concepts and seeing it to fruition now. I have a 22-year-old working on Wall Street and twins that are in college, and they will call me with the best questions, the best interpretations because of this knowledge and this content.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're doing the work also of God, because your life pivoted and you were looking for answers, and every time you are looking to do one thing, you get pulled somewhere else, and you just listen to it, like today.
Exactly right. And I think I sent you, Francine, because you're going to be part of it. The weekend retreat for women entrepreneurs, which combines business and spirituality, right? The name of it is Master Mindset. Mastermind is business. Mindset is spiritual. So master mindset. That's the secret. That's the secret. Integrating those 2 worlds.
Yep, absolutely. And if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here right now. So that's a really great thing. And again, here I met Giovanna, and Giovanna, like I told you, you have a lot in common. Dolores Cannon and a lot of the way that she talks, and she hooked up with Jerome. So it's really kind of cool. It's like part of like a beehive, and I love it.
Where does everyone live? You guys on the phone. I don't know the backstory.
They live in Africa.
Is that where they're coming from today?
Most of the people, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so I've got a question for Flores. So how did you magnetize Giovanna? I mean, how did you get surrounded with her?
I connected them.
Francine connected us, and then 10 minutes into the conversation, Giovanna was like, "We got to work together." So I invited, and I take away all barriers. So I invited her to a seminar. Like I say, no cost, just come. I'm willing to invest in the relationship. Everybody thinks sometimes in our capitalistic society that we're always looking to, it's money, money, money. Even though money is impact, and I love money, but I take the barriers away. So I said to Giovanna, just come. I said, just come for the day. Just come, see my house, meet me, meet the community. So she's coming on Sunday.
And meanwhile, when I met Giovanna, I'm like, you have to meet Flory. And she's looking at me, and I don't know her that long. And she's looking at me like, what? I go, listen, I'm not telling you anything because I didn't want to give it away. Because the way she talked, I was like, oh my God, Flory's got to meet her. And, you both have to connect. And I was like, oh, this is a match. And then Jerome sent me a note the other day saying, can you come on the show? And I'm like, who is this person? It was the same thing. And I'm like, okay, do it. Because the voice tapped me and said, do it,
Yes.
So you always got to listen.
I love it.
I'm actually walking back into my house where I do the seminars. So you could see behind me.
So
that's
that's
one of the posters. It's my name of my company, right? So it's an alarm clock, like wake up, like, live a life by design, not default. When Francine is connecting people, she's designing her life and others. Right? You just don't want to sit back and let life happen to you. And that's what a lot of people do. They let life happen to them.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, right. And my kids now, like we talk all the time, how are you designing your life? Who are you hanging out with? Are you just hanging out with friends that are in your class and you met them? Or are you hanging out with kids that you want to be with, that have something to give you, an energy? It's at every level, however old you are, it's about designing, because there's proven research that the people you hang out with, the 5 people in your circle dictate your future. So that's one aspect of it. But it's also what material you're going to read. What are you going to listen to? Who are you going to talk to? Because that's designing your life. It's the difference between picking a channel and surfing and just seeing what's there. It's very intentional. Designing your life is intentional. So that's what we teach, but we give people, that's another thing I don't say anymore, or I try not to. And we give people the tools to design their life. So it's not just, here's the architectural plan. We have to show you how to build it. It's not enough to know. You have to know how.
Well, what you said, basically, the old saying is, we are who we are by what we read or who we keep company with. So if you lay down with dogs, eventually you're going to get fleas. So you have to put yourself around like-minded people on the same frequency. Flory, did you leave with us?
Yeah. No, I'm here. I took off camera, but I'm still here.
Yeah, so it's all about being on the same frequency and listening to that frequency and being able to adjust and being able to pivot and being able to navigate that. Jerome.
That's just brilliant. Inspiring story. I love it.
Yeah, I'm here if you want to ask me anything else. I'm not leaving till Francine leaves.
Yes. Actually, I was about to ask how to use our intuition to magnetize the right people. When it's come to running a business, if you get surrounded with negative people, it's sure at 100% that you're gonna lose, right? So how do you guys use your intuition to attract the right people at the right time?
Setting intentions.
Yeah, I'd say you go first and then I'll go after.
I'm sorry. So no, you go ahead. Go ahead. You go, Flory.
Talk, but I have to take off video because I have to do something with my dog. But I'm going to talk, okay?
Okay, go ahead. Go.
So the way to do it in my world, the way that it's worked for me, is you have to be in alignment, and that is just not just your thought. You have to be aligned in your thoughts, words, actions, and beliefs, like the four wheels on a car, aligned, going in the same direction. So if you think one thing, I want prosperity and it'll find me, but you believe another, I'm not worthy, and then you hang out with different people and you have a different belief system, you're not going to attract the right people. So thoughts, words, actions, and beliefs going in the same direction. And we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and 55,192 of them are negative for most people. So it takes a little work in the beginning. But thoughts, words, actions, and belief all aligned, and the world will be yours.
That's correct. And it's basically setting intentions and following through and walking the walk, not just talking it. And the other thing is all those negative thoughts that come in our head, if you take the 5 minutes a day or the 10 or 15 minutes a day to be in silence, you're able to get that noise out. But you're able to put it in another box. So all the negative stuff, I would say, put in a box and then bury the box somewhere else. Because if that's fear and self-doubt. And
right. So we're just saying, two sides of the coin. So for thoughts, words, actions, and belief to be in alignment, you have to be able to quiet your mind. So it is really one story, but people need very concrete techniques. So I broke it down into those four so that people really, as soon as they have a negative thought, they got to get rid of it, acknowledge it, get rid of it. Words, they have to pay attention to the words they use because words have vibration. So when someone says, I'm just saying, no, they're saying exactly what they want to say. And then actions, pay attention to what you do and how you behave. And then beliefs, check in on what you believe and if that is limiting you.
Thoughts create matter.
Yes, this one will resonate with me. Checking in what we believe in. Very powerful.
Very powerful. But it's, like I said, it's the four wheels on a car. If one wheel is out of whack, then the car is not going straight. So thoughts, words, action, beliefs, I keep repeating it because those are the four things that have to be in alignment. And it gives somebody like very concrete plan. They can look at each one of those on a daily basis, weekly basis, and take inspired action with each one of those.
That's right.
So, Pauline, like Francine and I don't talk about helping people. Our behaviors support helping people, right? So it's a constant
story.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Can I ask something?
One more thing, and this is going to sound very simplistic because I'm again like 6 years old. Put yourself in a childlike state in a way, or go back to when you were young. Children didn't know limitations, so as a child they believe. So if you go back to that place and know that there's no limits, because they don't know that you can't do something, that doesn't exist in a child's world, right? Same thing with an animal. They don't know the word can't or not or impossible. So, everything that we have now, going to the moon was imagined. Technology, when I was growing up, we didn't have computers. So all the things that we envision, we imagine, we wish, we can create it and be like a kid in that way, to go back to being a child and believe. Go ahead.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to say one last thing. What's funny about what you just said is when you're really young, thoughts equal words, equal action, equal beliefs. So I never really said it that way before, but that is golden, right? So when you're little, you don't have to regulate, you don't have to change. That's an equal mathematical equation, going back to my equations. But the older we get, thoughts do not equal words, and everything is off kilter because we're trying to fit in or whatever hang-ups we've developed or whatever's going on. Oh, that's so good. That is so good.
But it's also about getting rid of the noise, to be able to just get rid of all the noise and all the bullcrap.
And it is not an easy task to do nowadays.
I do it. And so does Florrie.
We
So
have family and they're not, on the same page with us. They are not aware of what it means, paradigm, right? And sometimes it's very tough to get rid of this noise
Well,
yep.
from the
you also,
environment.
yeah, you just stumbled onto something too, though. But you said if you're hanging out with a lot of negative people, then you're going to have to work harder. So,
Yes.
listen, I get some of the negative people might be your family, but nonetheless, limit the interaction because Esther Hicks, one of my favorite, she says, don't even pick up the rock. Most people pick up the rock and say, oh, I'll try to get rid of it because it's heavy. She's like, don't even pick it up. So when it comes to thoughts and words and actions and beliefs, surround yourself with people who support. Otherwise, it's going to be exhausted. You're going to be Prometheus up the hill with the big rock. And that's a heavy life. So if you surround yourself with the right intention and the right people and the right material, and you limit the negativity, that's really important.
well, if you set a set of boundaries, and if you have boundaries, then that would be great. But one of the things I say to people is a lot of people, most people don't know how to say no, right? So instead of saying no, I
Yes.
teach people to tell them if they can't do something or they don't want to do something, instead of saying no, say I would love to, but I can't. It's not saying no, but it's not saying yes. And it's setting that boundary, and it recalibrates things of sorts. It's like a reset,
I
because
got a
then
great, oh, sorry, go ahead. No, you finish.
no, great, go. We're back and forth. It's like a fire. Sorry.
I've got a great saying about yes and no. If you never say no, your yes doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. See, like minds.
What
Madrid,
does
you
it
have a
mean?
question. Madar, do you have a
Yeah,
question?
yeah, yeah. I had a question uh, regarding how to leverage one's intuition to succeed. So, would you agree if I try to summarize it from the perspective of a very structured person, type of person, saying that it's like intentionally accepting to um, be vulnerable, to lose control? That actually is the key.
You have to surrender to being open to the new possibilities and not limit your world, basically. So and that's where the surrendering of getting rid of fears and getting rid of the noise. So once you surrender to it, anything is possible, truly. And that's what you have to kind of balance. You have to kind of work on, because again, like you have a lot of background like Florrie does, like the way that your brain thinks like a computer. It's like I can actually hear it. I've become very sensitive to the minds like that. And I think that also part of silencing the mind is people that are overthinkers don't overthink it. You're beating a dead horse. So 99% of the time, the first vibe is the right one. And I think that when you overthink, then you beat yourself up and then you switch. It's like a multiple choice question test, right? They did these studies. When you take a test, you do multiple choice, and when people have extra time, they go back over the test and then they change their answers. And probably 90% of the time, the first answer that they did was the right one, and then they question and they doubt themselves. Do you see where I'm going with this? So think of it like that.
Can
You
I say
know,
something about analytical minds?
yes.
So I used to kind of fight that because I was analytical and deductive, and it led me to good places. But now I have totally embraced that my logical deductive mind is not separate from the concept of surrendering.
Right.
I have realized that at some level my deduction and creativity is so high that I know that is a divine place.
That's right.
So I think we use our gifts, and if our gifts is this logic and deduction, we need to switch the thinking that that's a negative thing and embrace it to really help us grow our intuition. Those are not separate concepts. My mathematical mind and my intuitive mind are not at odds. They are helping each other.
Well, with you, it's not at odds, but with Medard, it is. And I said to him earlier before you came on, he needs to kind of squish them together and fuse them because he makes them separate, and that's why he beats a dead horse. So, so he's at a pivotal point of how you were before you started this, where he's going to be able to kind of fuse it if he surrenders, and then he'll realize that they're not two separate parts and that he can squish it all together. And it's almost like what is that, there's like a cake that they take all the old bread and all the cakes and they put it together and they make a new type of dessert. It's kind of like that. So that's what Medard is going to be.
I mean, you know what you're talking about? You're talking about alchemy.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we want to be. I'm glad you kind of led me there, right? We want to be alchemists. We don't want to have these separate parts. The alchemy is the genius creation of it. So, I mean, it starts by honoring the gifts that you have. That's what I tell people. That's what I live. And using those gifts to their highest good with the best intention.
That's right. 100%. So, Medard, don't be scared anymore and just fart. Just let it go. Just squish it together. Imagine that you have a giant blender and you take all the things that you've done and all the things that you want to do and all the things that you're getting, put it in the blender and close it and press blend. And you're going to create a new thing. And that's going to be the new part of who you are. That the parts, the 2 parts or the 4 parts that you're beating a dead horse, you're exhausted all the time. It's like you're running from one room to another. Squish it together, and then you'll find your niche. And you'll be happier and you won't be as tired. Trust me on that, because it's exhausting, I hope you guys, it helped.
Definitely, it is.
Well, it was nice to meet you guys.
Thank you so much, Flori. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Thank you for coming,
Tell me
Flori.
how can we reach out to you? Or do you have any platform or social media that we can connect?
Absolutely. I have a lot of them. And listen, I am spending my life helping and impacting, and Francine knows that. So that's why, I mean, listen, I came on today because I was told to, and because I wanted to support my friend Francine. But beyond that, yes. So the name of my company is Awakened Events. Actually, why don't I just put it in the chat?
Okay, yes, put it in the chat, please.
And don't hesitate to email me or WhatsApp me.
Yes.
I'd love to broaden my horizons with different cultures, and any way I can help.
Thank you.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And thank you, Corey, for coming. And Medard, thank you for being so interactive. And I think that you and Jerome, if you're not already connected, you really should.
Yes.
Because it makes sense. And also, Medard, I see building blocks with you also. So I don't know if you are going to build some sort of, or you and Jerome are going to build some sort of healing center or a prayer center, but I can see that. So keep that in mind.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting this, and I'm seeing people praying, and even if it's a rock on a mountain, it doesn't matter, because again, we don't have to be in a temple to be with God. God is always with us. So we don't have to go to a physical place. So it doesn't matter. So even if you guys create not just like an online healing and prayer network, it would make sense. And that could be part of the building blocks, and also consider the internet is a form of real estate also, So again, there's unlimited amounts of things that you can do in this world. And just don't be scared. And now you have us, and that's it. So I hope we helped. And thank you so much for having us, and
Thank
me
you.
and Flory. And I'm so glad. And Flory made me super excited. I was like, yay. So,
Well, listen, we're talking about, I have to just state the obvious, which is you asked, how do you magnetize and bring into your world? Someone brought me on this call today. It wasn't me. So the intention that everyone has to be better and develop and be more connected and manifest, that intention is what brought us together today. So I don't think we can miss the fact that what we're asking about how to do, we just did.
that's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it made me so happy because it was just so nice, that she's like a sister from another mother, So
Yes. Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much. Thank you. And we will talk again. Thank you so much and have a great Saturday.
Thank you. Be blessed.
Thank you.
We are so
Bye bye.
grateful. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye bye.